Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Russia accuses Ukraine of attacking its nuclear plant and causing fire, even as Ukraine celebrates its Independence Day with Canadian Prime Minister in attendance. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei says Iran will not bow down to America, says issues with the United States unsolvable amid the nuclear standoff. Vietnam plans mass evacuation. China's Sanya city shuts as Typhoon Kajiki intensifies. Typhoon expected to bring flooding and destructive winds to Southeast Asia. Monsoon lashes out heavy rains across northern and northwest India. Heavy rainfall recorded in states of Rajasthan and Gujarat. And batter Chiteshwar Pujara retires from all forms of cricket, ends illustrious career after representing India for over a decade in 103 tests. Amid ongoing diplomatic efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine marks its 34th Independence Day, receiving strong support from Canada and the United States, who pledge continued backing. As celebrations continue, Ukraine intensifies its drone strikes, causing significant damage, including a fire at the Kursk nuclear power plant. Meanwhile, Russia has accused Western countries of trying to block peace efforts. More in this report.
Diplomatic efforts and strikes with Russia. Ukraine marks its 34th Independence Day. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and US envoy John Kellogg joined President Zelensky in the celebrations, reaffirming their nation's unwavering support. Carney pledged Canada's continued backing as discussions about Western security guarantees hang in. World leaders also sent messages of solidarity for Ukraine's Independence Day.
Today, I come here with the honor of leading Canada's new government, and I commit that Canada will remain by Ukraine's side in your fight for independence, sovereignty, and freedom, and that we will be there with you to promote peace, security, and prosperity for Ukraine once the killing stops.
On this special day, President Zelensky, alongside religious leaders, prayed for peace in Ukraine. Pope Leo also renewed his call for peace, appealing for an end to the violence on Sunday.
Today we join our Ukrainian brothers and sisters who, with the spiritual initiative World Prayer for Ukraine, are asking the Lord to grant peace to their tormented country.
As Ukraine celebrated its independence, it intensified its attack on Russian territory. A series of drone strikes targeted key Russian sites, including one that sparked a fire at the Kursk nuclear power plant. The strike damaged a transformer, cutting reactor capacity by 50%, though radiation levels remained normal. The International Atomic Energy Agency called for heightened protection of nuclear facilities. A fire at Russia's Novoshakhtinsk refinery continues to burn for the fourth consecutive day after a Ukrainian drone attack. The refinery, with an annual capacity of 5 million metric tons of oil, primarily serves export markets. While a significant boost for Zelensky, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre announced that Norway would contribute approximately $696 million in air defense systems to Ukraine. This aid, in collaboration with Germany, includes 2 Patriot systems with missiles as well as air defense radar from German manufacturer Hensoldt and additional systems for Norway's Kongsberg. As Ukraine ramped up its drone attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, Russia claimed new territorial gains in eastern Ukraine, including the capture of 2 villages in Donetsk and 1 in Dnipropetrovsk region. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Sunday accused Western countries of attempting to block peace efforts aimed at resolving the conflict. Lavrov criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky for demanding an immediate meeting with Russian President Putin, calling it obstinate and setting conditions.
They are just looking for an excuse to block negotiations and want it to be seen not as their fault or Zelensky's, who is also being obstinate, setting conditions and demanding an immediate meeting with Putin at all costs. This is an attempt to disrupt the process initiated by Presidents Putin and Trump, which has yielded very good results. We hope these attempts will be thwarted.
Russia and Ukraine exchanged 146 prisoners of war from each side on Sunday after mediation by the United Arab Emirates. Russian Defense Ministry said that all of the freed Russians were in Belarus receiving psychological and medical assistance. Ukraine also returned 8 Russian who are residents of the Kursk region. Former mayor of Kherson was among those released from Russian captivity. This marks the latest in a series of exchanges that have seen hundreds of prisoners of war returned this year. These large-scale prisoner swaps were the only significant in Istanbul in May-July this year. And Russian President Vladimir Putin's special envoy Kirill Dmitriev has criticized the legacy media outlets for accusing Moscow of destroying its own Nord Stream pipelines and termed those allegations as absurd claim. His remarks come just days after Italian authorities detained a Ukrainian national linked to the 2022 blasts. The explosions in 22 caused large leaks in 2 pipelines that carried Russian gas to Europe. At the time, European officials reported spotting naval vessels near the leak sites, intensifying suspicions of sabotage, according to CNN. According to media reports, Moscow has consistently rejected responsibility for the blasts. In 2023, Russia requested a UN Security Council meeting to discuss the issue and demanded access to European investigations, but those appeals were denied. The UK government vowed on Sunday to overhaul its asylum system after weekend protests broke out across the country at hotels housing migrants. The government said it will establish a new independent body to hear appeals by failed applicants more quickly as it attempts to end the costly use of asylum hotels, which have become the target of protests. The protests began outside a hotel in Epping in southeast England after one resident was charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Earlier, the Labour government said it would appeal a court ruling blocking it from housing asylum seekers at the hotel. The ruling triggered the announcement of protests and counter-protests outside hotels accommodating asylum seekers around the country. A group gathered outside a hotel in Birmingham in central England on Sunday, where police stood guard outside the Britannia Hotel, the site of the ongoing protests, as around 20 people demonstrated. Other events were planned in Manchester, in Dudley in the Midlands. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that the current tensions with the United States were unsolvable and that Tehran would never bow to pressure to obey Washington amid a standoff with Western powers over its nuclear program. The country suspended nuclear negotiations with Washington after the U.S. bombed its nuclear sites during a 12-day war in June. Khamenei's comments came after Iran and European powers agreed on Friday to resume talks to try to restart full negotiations on curbing Tehran's nuclear enrichment work. Earlier, France, the United Kingdom and Germany said they could reactivate UN sanctions on Iran under a snapback mechanism if Tehran does not return to the negotiating table.
with America is unsolvable. The president of the US warns Iran to obey America's orders. The Iranian nation is deeply offended by such a great insult and will stand up with all its strength to those who hold such misguided expectations.
Top US envoy to Turkey, Thomas Barak, met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu regarding the US request that Israel restrain its strikes in Lebanon and negotiate with Syria. Barak, who is in Israel, also met with the country's Minister for Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, the Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, and the Minister of Defense, Israel Katz. Earlier this month, Barak met Syrian Foreign Minister in Jordan's capital, Amman. Still to come up on DD India News Hour, Israel says it targeted Houthi military sites in Yemen's Sana'a. Pentagon working on plans for military deployment in Chicago after deploying military in Washington. And India successfully tests its maiden flight of the integrated air defense weapon system.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. At least 2 people were killed and 5 others injured as Israel struck the Yemeni capital Sana'a days after the Houthis fired a missile towards Israel. The Israeli army said the targets in Sana'a included a military compound where the presidential palace is located, 2 power stations and a fuel storage site. Earlier, Israel said that Houthi missiles most likely carried several submunitions intended to be detonated upon impact. In the United States, the Pentagon is preparing to deploy U.S. military forces to Chicago as President Donald Trump looks to expand his crackdown on crime, homelessness and undocumented immigration. According to media reports, the planning has been underway for weeks and could include mobilizing several thousand National Guard troops as soon as September. In a statement, the Pentagon said it would not speculate on further operations, adding that it continuously works with other agencies to protect federal assets and personnel. President Trump signaled the move on Friday, saying he may extend his anti-crime initiative from Washington, D.C. to Chicago, noting that some of his supporters in the city have been screaming for us to come. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, however, has pointed out that the crime, including homicides and gun violence, has declined over the past year. The Texan Senate approved a bill to redraw the state's congressional maps at the behest of President Donald Trump in an effort to flip 5 U.S. House seats held by Democrats to Republicans. The approval comes after Texan House passed it on Wednesday. The measure goes to Governor Greg Abbott to be signed into a law amid a nationwide redistricting battle. The Senate adopted the bill on party line vote 18-11 after more than 8 hours of debate. California, on the other hand, where Democrats hold power, vows to counter such moves. The Californian legislature approved a redistricting plan on Thursday aimed at giving Democrats 5 more congressional seats. The California plan must be approved by voters in November. The Texan plan, however, does not need voter approval, but Democrats have indicated they will challenge it in court. U.S. President Donald Trump praised the newly passed Texas electoral map as a tremendous opportunity to help his Republican Party retain control of the Congress in next year's midterm elections. Trump, posting on his Truth Social platform, said, "The new map will give wonderful people of Texas the tremendous opportunity to elect 5 new MAGA Republicans in the 2026 midterm elections." Unquote. Trump had pressured Republican-run Texas to create the new map to help prevent Democratic opponents from taking over the House in 2026, halfway through his term. Last week, the state's legislature adopted the bill after Democrats delayed the votes for weeks by denying Republicans a quorum to legislative business. Governor Greg Abbott said he would swiftly sign the bill into law. Shifting focus to Asia now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised the firing of a new air defense missile to test their combat capability. The development comes ahead of Monday's meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung. Earlier this month, Kim condemned the U.S.-South Korea joint military drills as hostile and confrontational. Meanwhile, South Korea is seeking to normalize relations with China that have been strained in the recent years. There is a high-level delegation visiting Beijing on Sunday. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung dispatched his envoys to China while he travels to Washington for talks with the U.S. President. The delegation, led by former Korean Assembly Speaker Park By-ong-se-ug, met Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and delivered a letter from the President to the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Diplomatic ties have improved since 2017 dispute over South Korea's deployment of a U.S. missile defense system, but frictions resurfaced in 2023 following critical remarks about Beijing by former President Yoon Suk-yeol. Park told Wang that he hoped the delegation would open the door to restoring relations between Seoul and Beijing. In Sri Lanka, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's recent arrest has united the country's opposition parties. At a media briefing held earlier today, several opposition leaders voiced strong criticism of the authorities' decision to detain Wickremesinghe. Under the theme, "Let's Defeat the Constitutional Dictatorship," the leaders accused the current administration of manipulating legal mechanisms to suppress political opponents, saying that the arrest represents a wider campaign to weaken democratic institutions and stifle dissenting voices.
What is the need to arrest him? Is the arrest in any way connected with the objective of a proper investigation? It is quite evident that there is no connection between
the particular circumstances surrounding the arrest of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe rise to grave concern with regard to the strength of basic democratic institutions in our country. What we are witnessing is a calculated onslaught on the very essence of our democratic values. The consequences of this go peril for the rights of our society as a whole. I join wholeheartedly in expressing my unreserved opposition to these initiatives which all political leaders are duty bound to resist. Sandrika.
6-year-old former president was remanded by the 4th Magistrates Court, where he was shifted to an ICU on
Kathua and Jammu city. On 14th of August, a catastrophic cloudburst struck Chositi village along the Machel Mata Yatra route in Kishtwar, claiming lives and shattering communities. India's defense minister visited Jammu's government medical college today to meet survivors of the Kishtwar cloudburst. He assessed the situation and offered support to those battling the aftermath.
सारे पेशेंट्स मैं समझता हूँ कि आउट ऑफ डेंजर हैं और अच्छा स्वास्थ्य लाभ कर रहे हैं और मैं इस मेडिकल कॉलेज के सारे डॉक्टर्स को मैं बधाई देना चाहता हूँ कि जो भी घायल लोग यहाँ पर आए थे उनकी पूरी तन्मयता के साथ उन्होंने देखभाल की है.
Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha assured that the administration is working tirelessly to deliver treatment, relief and rehabilitation to those affected by the Kishtwar tragedy. In Uttarakhand, rescue operations are in full swing in the Chamoli district, where a deadly cloudburst claimed 2 lives and injured 11 others in Tharali. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami met the disaster-affected victims at a relief camp. Further north, Himachal Pradesh is grappling with relentless rains. A yellow alert for heavy showers in isolated areas remains in effect till Tuesday. Across the border in Pakistan, monsoon floods have inundated villages in the Kasur district. Rescuers are evacuating people and livestock. More heavy rains are forecast by September 10th. Shifting focus to the Asia Pacific, Vietnam is planning to evacuate more than 500,000 people and has cancelled over a Chinese city of Sanya closed businesses and public transport as the two countries braced for the intensifying typhoon Kajiki. The storm could make landfall along the southern coast of China's. Meanwhile, the tropical storm Fernand has formed southeast of Bermuda. Forecasters warned that it could strengthen into a hurricane by local crews to battle massive wildfires that have scorched. Fires remain active. Spain's state meteorological agency reports that the country has endured its most intense 16-day heat wave. From torrential rains, cloudbursts to intense heat waves, extreme weather across continents. Sarita Chaudhary's report, DD India.
Its maiden flight test of the integrated air defense weapon system to revolutionize India's ability to defend its airspace. Diptanshu Kashyap tells us more.
India's Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO has successfully conducted the maiden flight test of its integrated air defence weapon system off the coast of Odisha. This cutting-edge multi-layered system includes indigenous quick reaction surface air missiles, advanced very short-range air defence missiles and high-power laser-based directed energy weapon drones across a range of altitudes and distances, demonstrating its effectiveness in real-world conditions. Minister of Defence Rajnath Singh congratulated DRDO, the Indian Armed Forces and the Defence firmly established India's multi-layered air defence capabilities, enhancing protection for vital facilities against aerial threats. Dr. Samir V. Kamath, Secretary of the Department of Defence R&D and Chairman of DRDO, also commented milestone. The quick reaction surface-to-air missiles are designed for rapid deployment with minimal delay. Equipped with phase array radar, the system offers 120 kilometers of surveillance and 80 kilometers of tracking range. Capable of engaging multiple targets, including aircraft, UAVs, and helicopters, it operates mobile, transportable by road, rail, and air, and features advanced electronic countermeasures to counteract electronic warfare. The Advanced Very Short Range Air Defense System is a portable, quick deployment solution designed to counter low-lying terrains like Ladakh and Siachen. Indigenously developed, it enhances protection against aircraft, UAVs, and helicopters. Direct disable airborne threats. With its advanced deterrence capabilities, it is becoming an essential part of modern defense strategies globally. As a platform-based system, its strength is aerial targets. The successful maiden flight test of the IAD, this system enhances India's self-reliance while offering multi-layered protection for critical assets. It not only safeguards against strengthens India's geopolitical position as a formidable power in the region.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Sri Lanka's capital city of Colombo celebrated the International Kite Festival. Over 55 international kite flyers from 25 countries joined local enthusiasts at the Golf-Face Green Park for a day of vibrant kite displays. Western Indonesia witnessed several boats paddling furiously at the annual Paku Jalur race on the Sumatra island. After an 11-year-old Indonesian boy's dance moves on fast-moving boats went viral on social media. A panda cub called Katyusha at Moscow's zoo turned 2 years old. Now this is significant because it's part of what's called China's panda diplomacy, which refers to the country's practice of gifting pandas to other nations as a form of soft power, aiming to foster positive international relations. And still to come up on DD India's News Hour, a discussion with special guests on the show on the latest turn of events in the Russia-Ukraine war. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Gujarat on Monday for 2 days to launch projects worth over 5,400 crore rupees. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh felicitates Gaganyatris, hails India's space ambitions. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. And to talk about the developments in Russia and Ukraine as Russia accuses Ukraine of hitting its nuclear site and causing a major fire there. Sergei Lavrov saying Zelensky is being obstinate and saying he's setting conditions by insisting for an immediate meeting with the Russian president, while Zelensky is accusing Russia of trying to run away from the table. We'll talk about the developments even as the Ukraine celebrates its Independence Day. I'm joined on the show by Mohan Kumar. He's a former senior diplomat, now with the OP Jindal University, and also Dr. Rajan Kumar. He is from Jawaharlal Nehru University in the national capital. Thank you both gentlemen for being on the show. First to you, Ambassador Kumar, what should we make of Sergei Lavrov's statement saying that why is Zelensky insisting for a meeting? He's being obstinate, he's setting conditions. Is there some truth in what Zelensky accuses of the Russians or trying to use delaying tactics just because they don't want to stop the war?
So thank you very much for having me. I think one way of looking at this issue, Amritpal, is that both sides are jostling to gain influence on the battlefield or psychological influence before really the talks, which will start at some point. So that is one theory, if the talks do start. The other way of looking at it is the more pessimistic theory, if you like, which is that we all know that President Trump walked into the meeting before Alaska saying that if there is no ceasefire, then I'm going to impose sanctions on Russia. And then after meeting with Putin, he had to change his mind and say that we will not aim for a ceasefire, but we will go directly to a peace agreement. Now we all know why a ceasefire is proving to be difficult, because both sides are accusing each other, which have civilians. So there is just a complete lack of trust. My point to you is, and that is what we all have to wait and watch. President Trump has a deadline, if I'm not mistaken, of one more week before he said he will exercise three options or two options at best. One is more tariffs or more tariffs and more sanctions or walk away. So President Trump, I think, is in a bad place right now in the sense that his appeals to Putin are not really getting through, and his talk with the Europeans and Zelensky is not making a peace agreement in Ukraine. And everything that we have seen for the last 1 week seems to indicate this backdrop. We will just have to wait and see how President Trump reacts to this whole thing. It is all a short run. I don't think that's going to happen. Lavrov has made it abundantly clear that while at some point it can happen, a lot of preparatory meetings that we are not even able to get either of the two parties to stop bombing each other. And civilians peace looks very, very dim, if you ask me.
Professor Rajan Kumar's peace comes later, just to get to the table looks very dismal at this point in time, or distant at this point in time, because there is no facilities being attacked, etc. Then what does where does last I'll be able to get the two on the table? Is it just his? Is he holding some cards close to his chest?
Thank you for having me here, Amrit Palji. And you are absolutely right. Consistently inconsistent. He's appending his position, he's changing his position, shifting his position every time.
I like that expression that you use. He's consistently inconsistent. Okay, please.
With Trump and his diplomacy is that he does not have any foundational principles. The way normally negotiations take place, and Ambassador Kumar will kind of certify that most of the good deals, the lower officers, they do the deal, and finally the president go and meet and sign the declaration. But here what happens that he goes officials, lower officials, they start working on, try to fit into whatever position he takes. So, here the issue is, number one is the issue of ceasefire, and then the issue what Trump is saying, that he's speaking the language of President Putin at the moment. President Putin does not want ceasefire for the simple reason that Russian military has an upper hand. Let me tell you, Russia already has, Crimea was the first one, but after that Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, etc. And President Putin is asking for the Kharkiv region, entire Donetsk. Will not do that, will not surrender that territory, because the biggest military establishment is in that region, Kharkiv and Sumy region. Not in position to defend Kiev. The problem with Ukraine at this moment is that most of the Ukrainians and even Western experts believe that Ukraine does not have a capacity to fight Russia for long. So it might be just the issue of by European countries, but unfortunately, because the Russian military has upper hand, and it believes that it trusts President Trump. Although I know he'll never speak but he does not completely trust Trump because of his shifting positions, and also because the way that he'll know in few minutes that whether the deal is happening or not. And after even Alaska meeting, and after that, forget about when the ceasefire is not a possibility.
Okay. Ambassador Kumar, Donald Trump. Professor Rajan Kumar is saying that, Putin doesn't trust Trump. Who does? See as publicly as Trump. Remember when the European leaders were in the Oval Office? Is Trump losing credibility? Is he a mature leader? Can he run the US presidential office?
Has to be that President Trump is extremely unprecedented among the leaders who practice diplomacy. I don't think we active or not, Amritpal ji, it's very hard to say, frankly, because, Putin at least to the table, which other leaders in the past have not been able to achieve. So it's a little too early to into heavy weather. But it would be premature, I think, to write him off completely, because I think both sides know that it cannot go very much beyond can win this war. That is the problem.
No, but why is then Trump, using the bullying tactics with Russia? I mean, I can understand if we were to tell Asim pressure, but when you're dealing with Putin, what sanctions are you threatening? They've been into Asia, so why is he using bullying tactics with Putin, knowing very well that this is a form
he's dealing with? One is China and one is Russia, and we have to wait and see what happens after a week, because and leave you guys to fight it out till death do us apart or whatever. So I think there is to wait and see what the Europeans do or don't do. I understand they're in a difficult situation. I also note for your audience that the Ukrainian ambassador in Delhi has, to be honest with you, Amritpal ji, I think it is in India's interest to see this conflict end quickly, actions and the rest of it. So from a very foreign policy perspective, my attention was attracted to the statement made by the Ukrainian ambassador, and I think it's clear to both Putin and Zelensky that we want this war.
Both leaders that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward. That has been India. An ambassador to New Delhi also said that he would want India to mediate.
India could have mediated had the war been between Russia and Ukraine. Called Russia on the one side and Western countries in different forms on the other side. the right time for India to put its nose and try to negotiate, because Trump is not liberal. So I don't think that India alone can negotiate secondary sanctions, etc. So Russia is concerned, and India in collaboration with for some kind of ceasefire. Any negotiation has to start with a ceasefire. Would be happy to play whatever role it can play, but negotiating at this moment with the European countries, because European countries the maximalist position of Ukraine is that it will not cede territory, and maximalist position of Russia is that it will not. At this point of time is absolutely impossible. We should be lucky if these countries agree that he is not interested in a ceasefire. He is interested in a larger kind of play.
All right. So the situation looks very, very complicated. It is, as of today, looks highly improbable. Modi has said that initiatives launched for women's empowerment in India are Sardar Dham, sorry.
આપણે વાવ્યું હતું એ આજે પૂરા દેશમાં બેટી બચાવો આપણી દીકરીઓ ઓપરેશન સિંધુની વાત આવે આપણો લક્ષ્ય તો 2 કરોડ તો પહોંચી ગયા ડ્રોન દીધી આજે ગાંવ
Limited will be inaugurated. These aim to modernize Gujarat's power distribution network.
गुजरात की जनता को बहुत उत्साह है कि देश के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री जब भी गुजरात आते हैं तो खाली हाथ नहीं आते हैं, कुछ न कुछ भेंट सौगात दें, डेवलपमेंट की विकास की भेंट सौगात दें और लोगों को देकर जाते हैं.
PM Modi's visit will also give fillip to projects worth over rupees 1400 crore in the railway sector, including the doubling of the 65-kilometer Mehsana-Palanpur rail line, gauge conversion of critical stretches, and the launch of a passenger train.
In a faster way, people can go to the Rajasthan part and the North India part. Second is Kalol to Katosan. This line was earlier in the meter gauge. During 15 or 16, this has been closed. And the pace of making this, the contract of this was finalized in 23rd of December. And in a year time, it has been completed.
The Prime Minister will also launch urban development initiatives under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban scheme, improving slum rehabilitation, water management, and sewage systems across Ahmedabad.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Gujarat is set to give a new direction to the state's industrial and urban development. From roads to railways and from housing to electric vehicles, this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not only going to give benefit to the common people, but also boost the state's economy. With camera person Lakshman Rajput, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
India's Health Minister J.P. Nadda called on visiting Prime Minister of Fiji, Sitiveni Ligamamada Rabuka in New Delhi on Sunday. Both leaders held a detailed discussion on enhancing cooperation between India and Fiji in the healthcare sector. Prime Minister of Fiji is on a 3-day visit to India. During his visit to New Delhi, Prime Minister Rabuka is scheduled to hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 25th of August. The 4 astronauts who have been selected by India for its first manned mission to space were honored by the Indian Air Force and the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in New Delhi on Sunday. The 4 group captains of the Indian Air Force, including Subhanshu Shukla, were congratulated by the Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh. Group Captain Shukla became the second Indian in space when he spent more than 2 weeks there.
This gathering today is actually a celebration of India's triumphant return to human spaceflight. It's a matter of immense pride for us that it has been one of us who has been able to take our beloved Tiranga back into space. But this achievement also reminds us that the path to space cannot be forged by one person one service, or one organization alone. It is the result of the collective resolve and will of our scientific community, the armed forces, and indeed the entire nation, all united in their vision and achievements. For all the young children and students who have assembled here, I would like to just say that you are not just witnesses to this journey. You are actually the future travelers on this path.
जब हमने गिननी शुरू करी तो तकरीबन 3000 ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो कि ह्यूमन के लिए हमें बनानी पड़ेंगी, और क्योंकि ये टेक्नोलॉजी पूरे विश्व में कोई देश किसी दूसरे से नहीं शेयर करता, तो ये हमें खुद बनानी पड़ेंगी। और खुद बनाना कितना कठिन है, खुद बनाना कितना अहम है, और खुद बनाना कितना वक्त लेता है, ये समझाने के लिए मैं अगली चीज़ आपको बताऊंगा। जब चयन किया गया हमारे गगन यात्रियों का, तो जॉनसन स्पेस सेंटर जो कि अमेरिका के लिए काम करता है, उसमें 3200 लोग हैं। रूस में जो रॉसकॉस्मॉस करता है, उसमें करीब 7000 लोग हैं। मेरे पास कुल जमा 100 लोग थे, उसमें जो लोग इसमें इन्वॉल्व थे वो 14 लोग थे।
India's Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan unveiled the Ran Samvad 2025 to strengthen joint warfighting doctrine. Ran Samvad, a platform where serving commanders engage in discussions on changing the nature of warfare. In his message, General Chauhan stressed that future battlefields do not recognize service boundaries.
At a time when the character of conflict is evolving rapidly across land, sea, air, cyber and space, a response must be unified, swift and decisive. The future battlefield does not recognize service boundaries. It demands joint thinking, joint planning and joint execution. Jointmanship is no longer aspirational. It's a foundation of our ongoing transformation. I am sanguine that Ran Samvad will provide a platform where this collective vision will be debated, refined and strengthened.
Health, harmony and holistic wellness took center stage in the national capital on Sunday. Organized by the Integrated Ayush Council with active participation and support of various ministries of the Government of India, the Arogya Utsav 2025 was inaugurated at the Bharat Mandapam. Dignitaries including the Governor of Tripura, Indrasen Reddy Nallu, Dr. H.R. Nagendra and Acharya Balkrishan were present at the inauguration. The three-day expo features health checkups, yoga sessions and Arogya activities, all aimed at promoting wellness for a Viksit Bharat. On the occasion, Ayush Excellence Awards were also presented.
Allopathy has grown to such great levels of excellent knowledge base. No? Why there is no solution? Because there is a fundamental reason. Modern medicine is based on modern science. Science started in the western part of our globe, Newton record of 400 years back. Using the scientific methodology, scientific research, continuously we try to understand more and more about this creation.
And let's now take a look at some sports news. Indian batter Chiteshwar Pujara on Sunday announced his retirement from all forms of cricket. Pujara last played for India in the 2023 World Test Championship final against Australia at the Oval. Pujara made the announcement on social media. In an emotional statement, he wrote that wearing the Indian jersey and giving his all was an indescribable honor, but with gratitude, he has decided to retire from all forms of cricket. He spoke about his two-decade-long journey, expressing gratitude to teammates, coaches, fans and family. He called representing India as an honor, cherished the memories and the lessons cricket gave him and thanked everyone who stood by him throughout his career. Pujara retired from cricket as the 8th highest run getter in Test cricket for India, with a tally of 7,195 runs at an average of about 43.6, laced with 19 centuries and 35 50s. After making his debut in 2010, he played 103 tests and 5 one-day internationals for India. And that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available on both platforms, Android and iOS. Scan the QR code to on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India News Hour. Bye-bye.